Hello there. Hello. Hello.
Hello, Val. I'm just behind you.
Oh, wonderful. Hey, I was gonna see.
Hey, is everything okay?
I was gonna see if someone can help me to put the presentations up here.
Sure, I'm gonna do it.
Wonderful. I don't have. Let me see if I have. I don't know if I have those links. So we
Is it
wanted.
okay? Can you see it
I
on the
can't.
central screen?
Yes. So I'd like that one to go on the left. I'm trying to go over there.
You want this one on the left?
Yes, ma'am.
Sure.
Okay. Then, and then this one, oh, I don't have the chat. The other presentation, put in the middle, please. Up the link.
Okay, it should be okay now.
Oh, so I wanted to put this one into there. But, wonderful. Thank you so much.
Val, can you hear me?
Hello, good afternoon. Are we okay to get started?
Yes, we are.
Okay, wonderful. So I'll just go ahead and start presenting here, yes? Okay, can everybody hear me? And are we good to get started?
Yes, all is good.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, well, good afternoon, good morning. We have quite a bit of the globe covered here today. So thank you everyone for joining us for Empowering Creators in Mixed Worlds. Um, I am I am Valerie Vacante. I am the Director of Strategy at Live Area. We are part of the Dentsu family. And really my role is all about kind of uncovering uh, cultural trends, designing strategies, next generation product innovations, and really kind of partnering with very interesting people who are creating the future. Also, really partnering with those people to create ways to connect with people in the physical and digital world. So I'm really excited to be here at VR Days today um, with a fantastic group of people. I'm checking to There we go. Cool. Well, bear with me here. There we go. So just diving in, as I mentioned, we have an incredible group today. The format's going to be very like a series of fireside chats. So you can see there's Edo Fuyu from Patch XR, Inder Full from Pixelinks, Marco Carvalho from Head Office Space, Dan Morris from Niantic, and Philip Rosedale from High Fidelity and Second Life. So jumping in here first, I'm going to go over some numbers with you guys because I think it's always great to sort of see what's happening out there in the marketplace. So we talk about enhancing creativity, empowering creators. Right now, there's an estimated 40% increase in the creative economy by 2030, according to Deloitte. So that's equivalent to about 8 million additional jobs and across 9 different economies studied. I know, metaverse, it's the big word. Everybody is sort of tracking what's happening in the space at the moment. I think any of us here today and working in the space are very excited about this number because there's an anticipated 509% increase in the metaverse market. So we were at sort of 46 billion in 2020, and that's anticipated in just less than 5 years to be 280 billion. And as we all know, those numbers are just like going up and up and up and up the ladder. This other number here, NFTs, another, space for creators and those new economies happening at the moment and skyrocketing. Here we have over a 2,000% increase, just incredible numbers. And that's just looking at sort of Q4 of 2020 and where we're at in Q1. So again, we completely expect those numbers to skyrocket. And then kind of going to the bottom of the screen there, again, more excellent numbers when we look at the space. So when you look at 63% of gamers would spend more on virtual goods if they had real world value. So we're seeing a lot of connectivity between physical products driving to the metaverse or mixed world. So people love those experiences. They're willing to pay for them. So we definitely want to create a meaningful connection there. And then kind of going, when we talk about Gen Z, this is a very interesting report. Think about Gen Z who've grown up really gaming. They're players, they're very entrepreneurial. And these numbers show it. So right now, there's about 53% of Gen Z hope to run their own businesses within the next 10 years. Of those who are already in the workforce, 65% are looking to have their own business. So incredible growth when we think about entrepreneurship, creative new business models and creative ways of doing things. And then just kind of rounding it out here, when we look at the global augmented reality gaming market, there's an anticipated 508% increase. So again, these are great numbers for all of us who are working in the space, who are fostering creativity. So really great numbers. Now, when we go to the next slide here, I think when people are talking about the metaverse or mixed worlds or physical digital experiences, there's always this, everybody talks about Snow Crash, everybody talks about Ready Player One, or this sort of dark dystopian future, that technology brings us. And, really how we see it, that's entertaining, and it's, that's sort of fear factor. But for today's conversation, we're not going to deep dive into all the various definitions of metaverse. We're not going to deep dive into the dystopian darkness. Rather, today's conversation is all about the positive aspects of empowering creators in these mixed worlds. It's all about community, culture, creativity, collaboration, connection, and commerce, right? Because we are creating those experiences and those new economies as we shape the world. So,
good to see you.
Hi, welcome. Okay, great. And so that brings us to our first speaker, Edo Fuyu with Patch XR. Edo, please join us on the virtual stage.
Okay, joining the virtual stage. Hello.
Hey.
It's a pleasure to be here. Hello.
Great. So, Edo, I guess the first question. Let's jump in and just kind of share with everybody. You're obviously the co-founder and director at Patch XR. So tell us a little bit about what you guys about Patch XR and what you're working on.
Right. So I think the best might be to show a video. That's cool. Yeah. I mean, a small presentation. Just put the goggles on and show what we are doing, because it's basically combining sound and visuals and gesture. And the best way to do that is either in virtual reality or by showing a video. So I'm gonna ask now. So, well, it shows. So, Patch World is built out of building blocks that you can fully customize and connect together to create musical worlds, instruments, and shows. And the idea is to create this decentralized world where everybody can join, no matter where they are, and either experience these creations or contribute with their creativity and their imagination to build worlds by connecting these type of blocks. This is an example of a block, and it's a bubble, and it's also the representation in this universe for a sound. So you can grab it, and you can hit it, and you can also connect something to it, like, for example, a wire. You just now have a machine that will hit it for you. Using the same logic, we can build worlds and to connect them with visuals. What does this mean is that using the same type of controllers, we can have a slider that controls the color of the world. How much do you see in this world? And actually start adding some visual elements to it. And using the same type of connections, we can actually start building things that will be quite difficult to do otherwise. I still have a sound here, but now let's make something with another type of connection. I'm gonna make a little bit brighter my world right now so you can see that. I can grab a mask. There is a block as well. And I can connect, I can, like before, I can move it with, I can connect something to it. So this is a counter or a clock. So it will just count. So now we have something that's moving. I can just like this. But this is still not connected to sound. So now let's say that I want an envelope. And so poke. And let's just make it a little bit faster. Not so fast. And okay. So let's say that this is one of our elements. And I want that every time that this happens, this moves. So I can grab it like this. How about ta-da, ta-da. Grab something like this, and then and we start seeing our users creating like pushing more these moving aspects. Start creating using the same building blocks of synthesizers, something like this. Or you can have these robotic fish or contraptions. Then we can start creating type experiences like this. Using the motion of my hands, position, I'm controlling a particle system, changing its colors, and driving an instrument. And some of the things that we're exploring is how does it feel to touch something in immersive technologies, like making an instrument it's actually it's a very interesting challenge because it needs to feel reactive, it needs to be expressive, and it needs to be simple. And how do you make something feel something that doesn't exist, feel that you're touching it? So we are playing with the fantasy of and the haptics and the visuals to create a like the illusion of something that you giving a character and in a fantastical setting. So now you can see that this is like a sampler and this is a sound. You can feed it back and change the sounds that they make. So this is our approach to the Lego building blocks, and the way that we are doing it is by making it from the fundamental layers into a more fantastical approach, but allowing users to go as deep as what we did when we created, or just play around and enjoy the fantasy of creativity and music and sound. Uh, we are already like all these elements are user generated content. I will show you something in the, and this is some of the things that we are making right now.
Yo, yeah, touch it. Uh, yeah, let's jam a little bit. Yeah, baby, yeah.
Thanks a lot for watching. So yeah, this is us. Basically, it's combining like Walt Disney Fantasia. It's the relationship between visuals and sound, and Lego blocks or like Minecraft for music. And we're using immersive technologies to change the definition of what is an instrument and where your world starts and where your instrument begins.
So Edo, that was fantastic. And one of the things whenever we met this week that that we talked about is the really cool part about what you guys are doing at Patch XR is like it's made for kind of everyday people, right? It's not necessarily designed for the entire music industry, but really encouraging kind of everyday creators. Right?
Yes, exactly. So, and we are building it in layers. So you can start from the top layer and then just get into very easy and playful approach to music and creativity. But can go very deep, like how we started the video demonstration, and go into actually the fundamentals of sound. So the idea is to create this world where grow with the tool and explore the creativity as far as you want to take, but having a very low entry barrier, playing and creating and connecting with other people.
Well, and that's great. And right now it's VR only, right? And you guys are looking to go to other platforms?
That is correct. So we're focusing right now on the virtual reality aspects because that's how we started designing the tool. But we're already looking into porting for for outside of virtual reality and what are the some things are really not so good in virtual reality, like typing, for example. And that's like the same kind of thing. So we're trying to find what are the best approaches to port outside of the virtual world.
Very cool. And then another thing we had talked about were the patchathons. So, obviously today we're talking about, empowering creators and creativity. So share with us a little about the patchathons that you guys were putting together.
Right. So in order to test the tool, we learn a lot from our users and we are creating these patchathons. It's a hackathon in patch. Therefore, the patch sounds super funny. And the idea is to, yeah, we give the tool to creators. We pick a topic and they start making things in a small period of time, and it's mind blowing the stuff that they're making. So right now we have around 50 creators, and people are subscribing into the tool and the early access beta. So you can go into patchxr.com and join the waiting list and see also what the community is making, and the idea is to release next year to and already have a nice community of users who are actually shaping the tool by coming up with ideas and projects, and we give them the missing blocks for them to accomplish that.
Oh, wonderful. And then in terms of your current business model, where how do people engage with you? What does it cost? All of that good stuff.
Right, business. Well, the idea is to create a creative economy around shows, music instruments, and interactive venues, and build a play to earn model. But to get to that, we are building a strategy starting with DLC content and buying licenses. We will release in the Oculus Store. We have a partnership with Facebook Reality Labs here with these high level worlds, and we want to keep the creators, give them the right tools so they can start monetizing their creations, and we will take a cut like marketplace.
Great. And then I think I know we're almost at time here, but one thing that I wanted to share with the group here that I thought was really interesting when in kind of reading about what you guys have been up to was the 90th anniversary of Abbey Road. So you were just in London, right? In the same studio where Dark Side of the Moon was produced. So you share with us a little about that?
Yeah, that's actually super cool because at the beginning of this journey, one of our visions, it was like we wanted to create a studio or a brand, like if actually Abbey Road and Lego will have a kid after a great concert night, and that kid will inherit the creativity and craftsmanship from Pink Floyd and imagination and playfulness from Lego. So we just got invited there to present. Was looking into the future of music and how like these new technologies are going to change the way that we produce and engage with others. And it was amazing to see what other creative technologies around music are building and to discuss, what are the next steps in such an innovative and actual cultural place. So it was super nice.
Cool. And then I guess last thing is what's ahead for you guys? What, how can people connect with you guys? What can we expect over the coming months?
Right. So this moment we are refining the tool, like engaging with more creators and festivals. And what we are heading towards is the multiplayer. So people can actually start joining and presenting and playing together regardless of where they are. So you can find your crowd and your audience without the limitations of your physical location. And we are already having some really, really interesting advancements there. So if somebody wants to reach out, my email is edo@patchxr.com, edo@patchxr.com, and I'm happy to discuss anything further. Thanks a lot, Val, for the great introduction and presentation.
Thank you. Thanks so much for joining us. And with that, we would like to bring.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks so much. So with that, we'd love to welcome to the stage. Hey, Ender Pohl with Pixel-Links. And Ender has some really fantastic news and updates to share with us today. So welcome.
Hey, thank you. How are you doing? Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, amazing. Great. How are you doing?
Yeah, wonderful. Really excited about you joining us, the whole group we have here. I mean, when we talk about, empowering creators in mixed worlds and empowering creativity, it's just I can't wait to hear more. And it was fabulous hearing what Edo said. So I guess we can just jump in, Ender, if you want to share with us, a little bit about you and a little bit about Pixel Links to start.
Yeah, for sure. I'll jump in with some demos in a minute, but great to be here. And yeah, Patrick Star looks incredible as well. Definitely going to follow up with the team on that. So yeah, Pixel Links was set up a few months ago with myself, Deadmau5, Richie Horton, and the management teams behind both artists. Really what we've been focusing on is developing tools that can help artists exist within the metaverse. So our focus really is on two sides: virtual worlds on the one hand, and then blockchain and NFTs on the other. So for really developing interesting gamified experiences that can take your music and start to bring them to fans in more playable, fun experiences.
Wonderful. And it's fantastic because you have, as you mentioned, you have all of this team of creativity and powerhouses in tech and the music industry. And it looks like you're touching everything from, like, as you mentioned, like these gamified experiences and culture and fashion. And it's not just about music, right? It's about all of those things. So what sort of, got you guys inspired or ignited Pixel Links? How'd you come, like, how did this form?
I think over the last few years, kind of working in the middle of music and entertainment and interactivity in general, one thing was pretty clear was that I think gaming is going to consume most of these cultures. The ideas of gamification and just game mechanics in general are going to become more and more relevant across every part of our lives. And we can see it from little things around how a Fitbit keeps you inspired and wants you to keep kind of chasing up the leaderboard. These concepts were super interesting to us, and really it was that kind of foundation that I think gaming is going to represent the future of entertainment. And we started exploring that as a tangent, like what would that look like if music was to exist within gaming. And really the problem we felt existed was, at the moment, it's not scalable enough to create a gaming strategy for most artists. It's really it costs a lot of money, takes a lot of time to develop assets, and most teams don't really have the knowledge in house. So our focus was on how could we democratize that process and make gaming more accessible for the music industry, but then naturally fashion ties into that as well with the skins and everything that we're doing. Have I lost you?
Oh, sorry about that. I was saying, yeah, that's no, it's fantastic because you guys are really, as we talk about, empowering creators, and everybody focuses on their superpowers. So you guys bring this sort of powerhouse to creators and let them kind of get on with making their phenomenal music, creating their art and giving them that platform to, like, bounce off of it is fantastic.
For sure, it's definitely we look at it as a new canvas, really, for art to kind of go to a new level. And we're already seeing it in many cases. I think having the ability to create in the context of a virtual world can change the way music is consumed. And I think that to us is something that's super exciting, is what will this canvas mean for the future of music and how fans engage with it in a sense.
Yes, and I understand you guys have you guys have been just producing, partnering. It seems like throughout the year. So, would you like to jump in and kind of show us what you guys have been working on?
Yeah, I'll show the first little snippet. So this is I'll just put it in over here and search, I guess. So yeah, what you can see here is a playable experience. It's a virtual venue that we designed. You can live stream content into it, and it reacts in real time to whatever you're doing in your live show. So this is one of the products is around virtual concerts and basically giving artists this platform to start designing and developing their own playable experiences. And that will be one of the first kind of desktop console experiences that we launch next year, which kind of democratizes this virtual concert experience for artists. So they can literally set up a show in their studio at any time and invite fans into it, and it's super interactive. But it can also be broadcasted out onto the more traditional Web 2 environments as well.
Great. And so if I'm hearing you correctly, it is available in VR as well as desktop and mobile, or is...
So we're starting with just desktop to begin with, but there are plans on bringing kind of VR functionality over time.
Cool. No, that's fantastic. And just to, like you say, just have that even playing field and ease that people are used to start. It's very smart.
Mm-hmm, for sure. And then I guess the next part of our ecosystem, because we always felt physical is so important to music. We can't, I don't think virtual concerts are going to get rid of live shows. The experience is completely different. So we spent a lot of time thinking about how do we connect the dots between the physical world and the digital world. And I'll share something here which is pretty exclusive, but we have a mobile version of our experience that's coming out, built on the Niantic SDK, which allows you to basically go to physical shows and using the AR tool, start unlocking NFTs whilst you're at a show. So it's, again, a really, really fun way to kind of bring the physical digital overlap together and let fans really start collecting, NFTs and in-game assets whilst they're actually at a show. Everything they collect in the real world can then be used in the core game that we launch as well, which you just saw. So it's kind of like an extension of our inventory system and bringing that to the real world.
So that's fantastic. So it's, if I'm hearing you right, so you're basically rewarded for going to those physical experiences. And then I take it because you're built on the Niantic Lightship platform, there's certainly reward experience for kind of collect and get in your own community or around the world as well.
Yeah, that's right. So artists can then start to basically drop content into the world. So when they release a track, you can unlock that piece of music or that new skin or a ticket, for example, just from exploring the world, and they're able to author in that content as well without necessarily going through us. So it becomes more of a platform, kind of like launching assets on Shopify or anything. So that will be the kind of end goal here.
Oh wow, it's like you guys have made it so easy for musicians to extend. That's very cool. So if they're from a particular city or if they're having a particular concert, excuse me, boom, they can kind of create that culture stop or their own sort of stop or opportunity in the market. That's awesome.
For sure. We've always seen it as like the big opportunity is, if we look at the metaverse as a whole, it's really fragmented, right? You have multiple platforms, you've got different vendors that you can launch your NFT on or do something else. And it's really difficult to build a cohesive strategy for an artist if all of your content is dispersed everywhere. And this was a way to just start bringing it back together while still having those integrations with the third-party platforms that obviously really matter. We saw this as a really cool way to connect, all of your different touch points through a tool that your fans actually will want to engage with and a platform that's easy to adopt.
Yeah, it feels just that little snippet that you showed there and kind of being in, we'll obviously hear from Niantic later too, which is great. That how easy it is, like just even in those examples that you've shared, having those everyday platforms, right? Starting with the desktop experience, looking at leveraging Lightship and really empowering those creators. I mean, giving them the ability to post. It sounds like it's almost as easy as them, and I might be making it sound too easy, so you let me know, but it sounds like it's just as easy as almost doing a Twitter post or posting content to your site, just that easy for them to be able to do that here.
Yeah, for sure. So there's a UGC element to it that we'll be bringing in, where the key way that we're working around UGC is just by uploading the assets that you already have as an artist, your artwork and things like that, using a blend of machine learning and other techniques, we can kind of transition them into our platform so that they are basically usable within this world. So it also makes it pretty accessible in the sense that you don't have to go and redesign content and make it function. Like we really look at it as how do we take the assets the artist already has and just give them this kind of metaverse native functionality in some ways.
Yeah, and just even how you guys have your artwork and how the experience is, it feels very natural. You know, oftentimes if partnerships aren't handled, you know, the right way, the brand or the artist or the experience, there's some kind of compromise, but this looks like it just sort of naturally fits together.
Yeah, I think hopefully it's a stepping stone. I mean, there's so many incredible tools that we're seeing kind of dropped out where over time, I think artists will feel more comfortable designing within 3D environments and imagining their creations not just being audio and visuals, but actually, you know, designing 3D. But I think that process is still going to take a bit of time. So we see this as a stepping stone to get there.
Great. And then, you know, I know you have your music verse. So if anybody goes to your site now, they can, you know, they can read a little bit about the music verse, but can you share with us a little bit about that and your vision and how it sort of works?
Yeah, so the idea is to create we're creating a platform. The concept is any artist can launch their own virtual world on our ecosystem. So you could imagine it like going to a Netflix or a Spotify. You know, there's tons of content there, but all of that content is 3D and playable. And so the idea is over time, you know, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of artists will have 3D playable experiences that you can access on this, and they can live stream into them. They can build communities around these worlds. They can launch NFTs and sell tickets and physical merchandise, and it kind of becomes this like next phase of a kind of artist website is how we see it, but it's all consolidated onto one platform. So you get the benefits of, you know, different audiences discovering your music and being able to engage and cross over.
And for that is just for clarity, that's not the music verse. Is that only for musicians, or is that, you know, musicians and sort of the up and comers, or, you know, anybody who wants to sort of have a go or engage? How does that work?
Yeah, so initially the worlds that will be featured are by kind of verified musicians that we work with, but then over time it just becomes a UGC platform, so anyone can create their own world and they can launch music within that, whether they are experienced or just experimenting. There'll be a range of interesting tools that they can start to create remixes from and actually start to create their own music over time. So, you know, we do see in the long term there'll be a number of artists that have been, you know, are successful and they're actually kind of designed and created within our universe. Like they started off as an avatar and built their own world and launched their own music that was completely generated in a gaming ecosystem.
Very cool. And that actually is a great segue into the labs program that you guys have. So I guess, yeah, share with us a little bit about labs program, you know, what it is, how people can get involved.
Sure. So Labs is kind of like an incubator program that we're launching. So we have access to funding as well as access to celebrity IP and some incredible advisors to basically help break through the next generation of music products and technologies. So we're really focused on businesses that are either help essentially things like Patch XR, for example, incredible technology that makes music more fun and engaging to interact with. So, you know, there's one pillar there. The other is all around building communities. So startups that are focused on, you know, helping artists nurture and build out their communities in the metaverse. And we have a few other pillars. So yeah, Labs is essentially a way for us to help support all of these startups, provide them with funding, and then also give them access to high-profile IP that can help take their product to the next level through talent associations and endorsement deals and so on.
Oh, fantastic. No, that's great. It's like you guys do have the whole sort of creative ecosystem. So that's wonderful. So I know we're excuse me, right at time. And I just wanted to ask, obviously, the question, excuse me, that everybody wants to know. So So what's happening next? You guys have done so much so far. What can we expect either, in the coming weeks, months? How far in the future can you share with us, Cinder?
I mean, there's a lot of stuff happening. Today, we just launched a new NFT drop with deadmau5, which you can find on deadmau5's website or his Instagram page. And we have a ton of other NFT drops coming out. These are all 3D and fully playable and usable in our game environments, as well as other metaverses. And then we will launch our first playable experience to the public next year in Q1. And that will really start the whole kind of onboarding process of artists being able to engage and launch their own metaverse strategy.
Oh, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It was fantastic to see all of the brilliant work that you guys are doing, from musicians to the virtual world to your partnership with Niantic to it's like your list continues. It's amazing. So thanks so much for sharing with us today, and we look forward to seeing what you guys are up to. And
thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks. All right. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Okay, great. So bear with us here as we get ready for our next presenter.
Well, it seems that Dan has an issue with his sound, so I'm just asking him, is everything okay? But maybe we can ask Philip to come on stage, and maybe then we'll speak later.
We actually have Marco who will be next.
Oh, perfect.
So yeah, I'm having a bit of difficulty with the presentation here. Oh, there we go.
Povo tá tendo problema com o som lá.
There we go. Okay. All right. So thank you again, everyone, for joining us for our sort of series of empowering creators in mixed worlds fireside chat today. I am excited to welcome to the stage Marco Carvalho. He's the CEO of Head Office Space. And so when we talk about empowering creators in mixed worlds, Head Office Space is all about empowering entrepreneurs, innovators, and really kind of transforming the future of work. So Marco, there you are. Welcome.
Hi, thank you so much, Val. Thank you for the intro. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We're super excited to show a little bit about Head Office and what we're doing. This is actually the first time that we're going to give a tour of one of our environments there, and we're very excited to show to you a little bit.
Well, and Marco, before we get started, just for the audience here, you and I, we've worked together in various aspects of technology across sort of connect VR, all of that together. And, from your background, you've obviously won, Toy of the Year in France for EdTech, for voice tech experiences. You won the CES Innovation Award for Data over Sound and Connected Home. You guys won the CineQuest Film Festival Award for Dino Mundi, which, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was like the first physical digital AR toy experience. And so it's like, now we're talking about the metaverse. Now we're talking about the future of work. So tell us about Head Office and what sort of brought all of these different worlds together.
Thank you, Val, for the introduction. And yes, all of these experiences before, they were the building blocks for the metaverse. So we learned early on about voice commands, about data over sound, about how people interacted in virtual worlds. And when we brought augmented reality with Dino Mundi in over 30 countries, it was one of the first experiences with the Generation Z with augmented reality. And that showed us how people dreamed about augmented reality and how they could incorporate that into their lives. And we were always, preparing for the metaverse and thinking, when is the metaverse really going to happen? And especially, when will people be ready for it? Because one thing that, like we believe the metaverse already exists for over almost 20 years, and Philip is here to tell us a little bit, but it works, and people have been interacting in these spaces for near 20 years. And then when we realized that actually people in games, groups, teams, using games to collaborate, they were interacting and collaborating better than using regular work tools. Okay, and then this way, when we bring work tools into a game environment, we're always missing something. People are talking about gamifying work tools and several of our management systems, gamifying them so that they can be easier to understand and more engaging. But when we think that, you can gamify until a certain point, because those tools, they were not built for this kind of collaboration and this kind of interaction. So instead of workifying game tools, we decided to gamify work tools. So with head office, we realized that if we built an environment using a very strong virtual engine, that we could all be on the same environment together, and then translating all of these management tools, all of the processes that companies need to have and teams need to have to be productive, we could be we could change how people work. And this is a little bit of what we did here. And I'm going to take you around so that you can experience a little bit.
Yeah, jump in, Marco, so people can see the environment.
Yes, so we are here at ClearSale. ClearSale is a global cybersecurity company with over 3,500 employees, and they were our first uh, uh, customer to try, because we wanted to start our development safe. We wanted to build an environment that we would feel safe to share our information, safe to talk about confidential details, projects that have not been launched. So ClearSale was perfect for that, because they helped us to look from the beginning how to make this environment safe. And they grew very fast during the pandemic. They went from a little over 1,000 employees to over 3,500 employees. They went public. So many things happened during the pandemic. And we wanted to make sure that their culture doesn't get lost in the process. Because when you go from 1,000 employees having a building tower to talk to everybody and host everybody, and then you go to a completely virtual environment, the culture can get lost, especially that the company almost tripled in size. So with head office, we thought, okay, how do we keep the culture alive, the culture that they built for so many years, and how do we get people to experience the culture and become more become a part of the organization. They develop the sense of belonging. So this is the first campus built inside head office space. You can come in and build your own campus, your office. You can build an office and resell. We have a whole maker's economy here. So this is one campus built for ClearSale. And you see on my right here, I have one of our training rooms types. And the interesting thing is that we are not worried about bringing what we experience, nostalgic office styles into the metaverse, because they don't make sense in a world where we don't have any restriction in terms of like it's all pixels. So bringing buildings that we use the way that we used to collaborate before, they don't make much sense in the metaverse space. So we redesigned rooms thinking about collaboration from the beginning. So for example, in this room, we have here on the back side, we have a presentation space. You can put any presentation, but it's very easy to jump in and out of a session, and of a breakout session. So you can have as many breakout sessions you want. You can just come here, you start a breakout session, then you go to the next. So if you are the leader here, you can easily go into every breakout session room and know what's going on, and then come back to the main room. And you see, we don't have walls. We didn't need to worry about the constraints of a regular environment where you have sound and other barriers that you cannot just go in and out of a room stepping in a line. Also, we have rooms, for example, that people can be together. So we're going to meet now. Let me see where Pedro. So this is the founder of ClearSale, Pedro. He is an Olympic athlete. So he likes to get his team and they exercise together. So we created this gym where they can come in and practice and interact as a group. Then we also have spaces that you can come in and draw and draw together. It works with all of the web tools. So you can open your Excel, your slides, you can draw together with your team, go over a presentation. Now, everybody here, they have their own squad. So when you press home, it takes you to your own office spot where your team is. So my team is all here today. You can see Val here. You can see, Pedro is looking at, you see I'm broadcasting to them our talk. So they are here. And a very interesting thing, here at head office, we have several ways of communicating. So I can press T and open spatial sound, and I can talk to anybody here using spatial. But one thing very cool also.
Marco, yeah. Sorry to jump in. It looks like the screen might be frozen in the background. So the demo is not, it looks like your presentation screen is frozen for some reason. We're not seeing the...
Let me try again.
So maybe refresh if you can.
Yes. Is it showing now?
Your screen is there, but it is showing there's no motion. So I know it's like we're presenting the metaverse in a metaverse over the web, right? So, but yeah, it seems to be frozen for some reason.
Is it frozen for everybody?
Yes.
Yes, it is. Maybe you can try to refresh the screen on the top right corner of the screen, the central one.
Just a second. Can you see now?
The same sort of still screen.
It's still frozen.
Well, I'm going to open the website then. At least people can see a little bit from the website.
There you go. But I think while you're doing that, Marco, I fortunately have access to the beta. I'm in my astronaut avatar, which is super cool, and able to go around the environment. And I think what you were talking about there was really interesting in terms of there's these references, right? You have a holographic work table. You guys have a way of we can work in Google Slides, we can work in Microsoft, we can work in whatever tools we have that sort of connect in the environment. And I think that's what's really cool about it is you don't have sort of the stale Formica tables. You still have something sort of creative and inspiring, but with the ability to kind of work with those everyday tools.
Yes.
So,
and especially we have all of the communication tools you need inside. So for example, we are the first metaverse to have a full operating video conferencing system. So you can build video conferencing rooms, your video appears, you just need to press V and your video appears on top of you. So it makes it easier. You know, we like to see human emotions. So you can switch, you can just be with your avatar, or you can press V and have your video on top. Then you can also interact with all of the screens around you. So you can work on an Excel file together. You can do a presentation, work on a presentation together. So actually get work done. And it's not only focused on presenting, but collaborating.
And I think that's a really important point, that people can kind of jump into the environment, communicate and collaborate in those documents, or whatever it is they're creating. I know we had the technical hiccup. We are getting close to time. I wasn't sure if you and Pedro wanted to share anything. If Pedro wanted to say anything before we.
Well, unfortunately, Pedro is inside the metaverse, so like I don't know if you can see. Is it? No, it's still not working, right?
Still not working. That's okay.
Yeah.
No, that's okay. And what I would say is, you know, I know this is the first time, as you mentioned, you guys have been really sort of quiet in terms of in terms of like, you know, we've sort of heard rumblings that you're working on a beta with a cybersecurity company, you know, that security is really important, and in the foundation of what you're doing. So it's really exciting that you guys, as well as Pedro, are here today and sort of, you know, openly talking about your partnership. That's fantastic. And then for the group here, you know, with at Live Area, one of the things we do is we actually have a Next Intelligence platform, and it's all about helping companies, both big and small, really accelerate innovation, brand experience, and technology. And through our Next Innovation Scouting work, actually head office and a global innovation team are working on creating a collaborative environment in head office, so that company can accelerate their product development process. So everything from early design sketches to sharing 3D prototypes are in the works. So, you know, Marco, you and the team have been great to team up on that, and we look forward to many more. Again, I know we're at time, and but Marco, is there anything you want to share with the group as far as like what can we expect next? How can people join, be involved in the beta? What's ahead?
Well, we are getting ready to welcome everybody to experience head office. Meanwhile, we suggest you come into our website, sign up for the early beta. There's so many different ways that you'll be able to interact and build your space, bring your team, build your projects, and revolutionize the way you work. So join our waiting list, and I'll see you in space.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Marco, for joining us, and live long and prosperous, as they say, right?
Thank you so much. We hope to see you all over there. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much. Wonderful. Well, thanks again, Marco, for joining us. So we have our next guest as we sort of get our screens sorted out here. Okay. So our next guest, oh,
Todos são curtos, né?
bear with us here one
O
moment.
problema é que não estava funcionando a tela direito lá deles, aí eu acabei nem dando.
Seu microfone está aberto.
Okay, wonderful. So our next guest is Dan Morris from Niantic. Hey, he's here, and we can hear your voice. You've got voice and sound. Awesome.
All your avatars look amazing.
Oh, this is great. So Dan, thanks so much for joining us, especially so early on the West Coast there. We're glad to have you.
My pleasure.
Well, great. So Dan, I guess we can just kind of start. I guess if you can tell everybody a little about yourself and your exciting role at Niantic.
Yeah, sure. I am Dan Morris. I lead developer relations for Niantic Labs and its Lightship platform initiative. And that's a pretty high honor for me, a high privilege, because it's really an exciting development in the AR space. I came running to do it. I was at Oculus for many years leading up to this, leading developer relations for VR over there at Meta, and that was an amazing experience too. But I'm pretty fired up about what Niantic is offering to developers now. So I've been here for 3 months now, and we just announced the full launch of the ARDK and Lightship last week after a several month beta period, and we're off and running. And I'm just really excited to be a part of this. The opportunity to help take Niantic's tools and the same technology that power Pokemon Go and all the other first-party Niantic games, and let developers start hacking around on it. It's a pretty amazing moment for me and for Niantic.
Oh yeah, it's been phenomenal to see all of the positive growth with Niantic over the years. And like you say, big announcement with Lightship over the past week. And what I really enjoyed and value and appreciate about John Henke is his point of view on the metaverse. And really, and Dan, I'm not sure if you were able to see the beginning of the presentation, that kind of philosophy of sort of, tech for good, creating more positive connections, collaboration, just from a personal design point of view is really important to me. So to hear, the launch last week, and then John's follow-up talk at AWE last week, I mean, it made me smile, because it is refreshing to hear that point of view in the world.
Yeah, it's more than refreshing. I mean, it's inspiring. Having been in this industry for 25 years myself, I think I share the feeling that a lot of us do, that we have all learned some lessons, some of them painful lessons, about the impact that technology can have on our lives if we are not proactively thinking about how it's going to affect us and affect others. And I think this is I think this is a moment now, especially given everything that's happened in the world in recent years. I think there's a moment now where technologists kind of stand hand in hand in a circle together around the world, and they're recognizing that we're all going to feel better about what we do if we can have a conversation now about how to design for the next 5, 10, and 20 years a bit more assiduously with human beings and their welfare in mind. We want to be a benefit to them, and we certainly want to do everything we can now to avoid any unintentional harm. And I think this is more than good. I think this is this is a re-energizing moment for technologists like us. And yeah, John, he's helping to lead and drive that discussion, and it's an important part. It's an important part of this for sure.
And it goes out into the experience. I mean, just from a personal standpoint, throughout the pandemic, I know I'm not alone. I'm sure you've heard a ton of these stories, as in your time at Niantic, but yeah, through the pandemic, just on a personal level, that was the only way Pokemon Go was the only way I could get my son out of the house. And we had our neighbor's kid, and he said, Miss Val, this is the farthest away I've been from my house in months. And we made it a thing where we do spotlight hour together every Tuesday. And then we'd go sort of about a 10K walk return. And that was our thing, and that's what we did, and that's how we got the kids out of the house. And I mean, and now, even though things are open again and everything, that's what we do. We go around and play Pokemon Go, and it gets the kids outside, it gets them excited, and playing in positive ways. But so that's just like on a personal note. And then what's been great is that like what you guys are doing with Lightship. So like that's Pokemon Go alone, and all the goodness that you guys are bringing to people, to getting people out in the world from Pokemon Go. But and then of course there's Ingress and Harry Potter, and your sort of list of games. But right now with Lightship, and we talk about empowering creatives, we talk about empowering creativity. Can you share with us, for maybe those who aren't aware, a little about Lightship and how you guys are doing that?
Yeah, well, thank you for that story about your kid. It's the same with me and my 6-year-old daughter. And that's what Lightship is really about. It's about extending to every developer who wants to try Niantic's technology and the fundamental Niantic idea, which is like, how can we make the real world, cooler, more fun, more educational, uh, uh, a place for real human community. And yeah, we did see it over the pandemic. It's probably an extreme example of how the world, needed uh, a magical layer on top of it at a very critical moment in our history. I think in the years ahead, I hope there will be less dramatic examples, but the way that AR technology can add a magical layer on top of our real environment is fundamentally what Niantic is about, and it's fundamentally what the Lightship tech stack is about. So you ask what sort of undergirds the initiative. Like it's pretty simple, really. Like there are basically 3 pillars that I can quickly summarize. I mean, we've got we've got differentiated AR technology for sure. Our semantic segmentation is just a cut above. I last week was the Augmented World Expo, and we heard literally dozens of attendees get the demo and say, yeah, this the semantic segmentation is just better, and it's easy for them to imagine how much better it could become in the next year or 2 or 3. We certainly intend to do that. So that is one of the 3 pillars. We also have just excellent real-time mapping, and that's, I think, what we're most known for. The ability to very quickly localize and figure out where you're at and what's important about where you're at. And it's what we call the map, with a capital M. So we plan to make our geolocation services, our visual positioning system, available to developers next year, and that's the second very, very exciting pillar of the technology. I think the third pillar is it's arguably the most important, and that's just the multiplayer and social feature set with which we design our own first party games. And here again, like we recently got a lot of testimonials last week from developers who took a close look at the tech for the first time, and yeah, we got up and testing in a multiplayer environment straight away, and if you match the if you sort of take all these three aspects of our technology together, it it enables real world planet scale social experiences that are very convincing, to the eye. So that's the sort of three ingredients for a very tasty treat, right? What John would call reality channels. And developers just get to go nuts with it now that the SDK is public. So it's a fun time for us, and hopefully a fun time for developers.
Oh, well, fantastic. And I pulled together, I don't know if you can see on the screen there, but based on our the announcements last week, and in our conversation, we had talked about some of the phenomenal work that you guys were doing with PGA, with Coachella, so really earlier in this discussion today, we actually heard from Patch, excuse me, Patch XR. We heard from Pixel Links, who's actually on your platform. So Inder kindly
I saw Inder's talk.
Right? So that was fantastic to have that sort of sneak peek. But since we are on the topic of kind of empowering creatives and empowering creativity, it's like you guys, I think, have covered. You have music covered here with Coachella. So I guess share with us what were the sort of goals of that initiative.
Yeah, it's an important point to make that this technology is not just about games, although certainly many game developers have expressed their excitement about getting a hold of this technology. This PGA Junior piece is actually really a really fun example of just trying to make something just really delightful. In this case, for young people. There's a program called PGA Junior, which is it's a kids and young people set of leagues. And it's a way for the PGA to get young folks started on a journey into golf. And this app that they're making with Lightship technology is just it's, as you can see, like it's got lots of silliness to it, and video game type elements. It's also just inherently social. It's built for multiple people to play around a golf hole. So obviously, like, games are going to be enabled, and that segment is going to be well taken care of by our tech. But it's also very important to Niantic that that the world get hold of apps that are not games, that are we think our technology can support the full. Looks at that here with Coachella, where we're going to land their iconic butterfly on top of the Spectre Tower in the Coachella Valley. That's going to be witnessed by all the attendees of the festival early next year. And if you look at the upper left, you can see just a lovely demonstration of planting flowers. We released a new game called Pikmin Bloom, which is all about that. You can just sort of beautify any part of your neighborhood, and robust applications in the future will allow those things to persist and other users to experience them too, and appreciate them and add to them and modify them. And this just evolving social experience of augmented reality is something that makes almost any spot in the world just a little more interesting, a little more fun to interact with. So whether it's games or some kind of venue-based social experience, education experiences for museums like Royal Historic Palaces, there's a lot of early interest in our technology, and I think a lot of exciting applications are going to be flowing pretty soon.
Well, wonderful. No, thanks so much. And I think it's so important that, again, when we're talking about empowering creativity, how how, like you say, Lightship extends beyond gaming, right? So it's wonderful. We have music, we have sports, we have comic books with your partnership in Japan, and that was another thing too. You guys are really collaborating with people globally, and it really showed in the launch. And so you guys have some fantastic partners already. And in terms of, I know we're getting kind of close to time here, so just wanted to see, Dan, how can people get involved? Like, where can they go? And how can they get involved and start working on the platform?
Yeah, it's super simple. Lightship.dev is the website, and that's where you can create a developer account and download our ARDK for yourself. There are really great tutorials, lots of robust documentation, video samples, and so on. We have a sample app that you can make, which is actually super fun. It's a very, very good sample app. And that's the place to go get started. You'll also find a very active developer community already. There are thousands of developers signed up, and a lot of folks are in the forums, comparing notes and asking and answering questions, and that's very heartening to see. One thing I learned in my VR past life is that the early days of a platform can be, some of the most meaningful. The early community that is forming there at lightship.dev. I predict that there are going to be category leaders in AR in the fullness of time who are in that forum today, answering and asking questions of their peers. I've seen that before, and I predict that it's going to happen again. The early developers on the scene, whenever a platform like this launches, have got a unique early opportunity for themselves to get in, figure things out, forge ties, forge relationships, both with their developer peers and with folks at the platform like myself. And I've seen the magic happen. So head to lightship.dev and check it out, and certainly let us know what you think.
And I guess two quick things before we go, and that is what's great is, just for clarity for the audience here, there's some phenomenal partnerships that you guys have teed up with these major global brands and everything. But in terms of the thing that stood out to me in your launch talk was, I believe it was Amanda Witt, and she said all you need is a little bit of Unity experience and you can jump in. So that idea that you don't have to be a big company with a lot of resources. You can just kind of tinker around, and if you know a bit of Unity, jump in and start creating.
Yeah, Val, this is a very good note to close on, I think, because I'm now experienced enough in the games and tech world to have seen this multiple times. But yeah, it is probably not going to be the big, heavily resourced companies who capture the early opportunities in AR. Just like in VR and frankly on smartphones, 15 years ago, it's going to be small, independent, hungry, visionary developers who run at this technology early before the big companies can really be bothered to get out of bed and get after it. There's an opportunity now to go eat their breakfast, and there are companies now valued at $1 billion that began as VR experiments, in the early days of the virtual reality platforms. And so I would really underline this aspect of things. Developers who have some Unity ability, which is really all you need to have the ticket to admission, have got a chance now to steal a march on much bigger, more famous companies. And I predict the big early winners in AR will be companies that that those big folks have not heard of, but are going to certainly know their names in a few years.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Dan. We really appreciate you joining today and sharing all of these wonderful examples and encouraging everybody here to go check out the Lightship platform. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It's been great to speak to everybody.
Great. Okay, everyone. We are very excited to prepare for our fireside chat / AMA with Philip Rosedale. He is the founder, and he's an inventor and founder of Second Life, the original, original metaverse virtual world, just a pioneer of what a lot of the topics are that we're talking about today. And he's also the founder of High Fidelity and really transforming how we hear the world and interact in the world with spatial sound. So Philip, welcome to the stage. Come join us.
Hi.
Hey.
Thank you for having me. Good to see you.
Good to see you and your avatar. Welcome.
Great avatar.
Yeah. So there's so many questions. I will just start with a couple, and then we can open it up for the AMA portion. But but just to jump in, I guess like taking it way back to say the mid 90s, right? The mid 90s, the world was in a different but similar place, right? Everybody was talking about the information superhighway, right? At the time.
Exactly.
this thing called the World Wide Web, that was hitting the world like bonkers at the time, and and you excuse me, a pioneer in the space. So I guess taking it way back, like how did you create Second Life? What sparked the idea? How did this virtual world start?
Well, like you said, I think the first important era to look back to, which, for me was pre-Second Life, was this moment, as you said, at which we sort of connected all our computers together, which was the very idea of the consumer internet, was that we would be able to get access to this single enormous web that was very much bigger than anything that the isolated services or BBSs or whatnot had done. So there was this sensation in the early 90s when I came to San Francisco and started working on the internet, internet technology. There was this sense that we had suddenly kind of connected the whole world together and provided everybody with access to information from everybody else. And I think there was a utopian sort of delight that we took in the idea that this information was almost always a good thing, and that in fact you couldn't have too much of it, that the superhighway would deliver better and better things as the information got more and more to more and more people. And I think looking back now, all these years later, we're recognizing that depending on what happens. So I think there was that first stage, but as you ask, Second Life really had to wait for about 6 years from when sort of the consumer internet started to about 2000, because there was no ability to do 3D like we're doing right now in this room. There just wasn't an ability to do 3D graphics on computers at that time. And the second thing was that there wasn't broadband. Believe it or not, when I started working on audio and video technology in the mid 90s, I was working on it over dial-up. So we had 20,000 bits per second, an amount which is a rounding error today to the systems we have. So it was exciting to wait because I was such a fan of virtual worlds. I had to wait from 1994 to 2000, and in 2000, broadband had become a real thing. It was clear it was going to work, and most computers, or at least the desktop computers, could do 3D. So that was the moment at which Second Life got started, and I started the company in 1999 And the first teammate who joined me was a guy named Andrew, who I had gone to undergraduate physics with, and we were just working on this very, very strange idea of a shared space for people that looked entirely different than the web.
Well, and it's incredible too for when we're again how you guys pioneered this experience, because of all the topics we're talking about today. And Philip, I don't know if you can see on the screen.
I can.
Okay, great. So I just kind of pulled together a couple of examples. Today's topic's obviously about, empowering creators in mixed worlds. We've touched on music with Patch XR and with Pixel Links. We touched on sort of collaboration and working and learning and training with Marco and the head office space, and then obviously gaming, but not just gaming, but the other other experiences that Lightship allows. So pulled a couple of these examples here, just highlighting how far ahead of its time that Second Life was. So I'm not, in terms of the top left there, we have the Dell Island, and you guys had loads of businesses who conducted business. Can you share with the audience a little bit about, what that experience was like?
Well, as you said, Second Life was completely unique at the time, and still very unique in that it genuinely is designed to enable the creation of things in the world, the creation of the world, the creation of avatars, the creation of everything, entirely using these kind of small building blocks that people were able to put together live, with each other watching, basically. And that core capability, the ability to be in a world together, to edit that world, but not just upload new things to it in a vague sense, but edit it as if you could sort of put your hands on the atoms and molecules of the world and unplug them and plug them into each other. That was the thing that was very ahead of its time, and still is in Second Life, and was difficult to do. But as you said, the magic of that was that it enabled the world to really actually completely be created by the people that were there. There were no templates. There was, really nothing. It was very much built by everyone. So, for everybody from people that started, the tens of thousands of people who, dove in actively in the earliest years in Second Life. And then, as you said, later on, you got companies and educators, as you see here in a couple of these clips, and ultimately bigger companies like, consumer, product companies and advertisers coming in and seeing what they could do with the virtual world. But this ability to build things with your hands at a small scale is still the unique property. And when I look at some of the exciting things that are happening today, like Dan's presentation there with Lightship, I think that you see a similar thing, that there's a certain magic to getting the size and the liveness of things, to a human scale, to a point where people can kind of understand how they can jump in and make changes and, edit the world. And I think that that's going to be at the core of enabling creative people in all these technologies across VR and AR, is going to be to kind of get the small parts working so you can build.
Well, and I love that. And one of the things, you talked about, and it was in a prior podcast, I believe, but, now everybody's talking about, NFTs and ownership, creativity, ownership, commerce, that type of thing. But back in Second Life, you guys had the CMT, copy, modify, transfer.
Right.
So share with us a little bit about how that worked.
Yeah, exactly. In addition to building these, Lego blocks, we had to build a system that would equitably enable people to, build and share things with each other. And so core to that, as you said, was, well, the first was actually the digital economy itself, the Second Life's Linden dollar, which was a token. Now we all, immediately think of crypto, and we think, that's all going on. But at the time, it was a very new idea. So we created this Linden dollar that was a, an early, or one of the first digital currencies that enabled people to trade things with each other. But then, as you said, what we also did, which was precisely the precursor of the modern NFT, was we made it so that the objects, the atoms, the things that were built in the world, from a pair of glasses to a plywood block sitting on the ground, were things that could be, they carried with them information about who made them and who presently owned them. And if you wanted to, say, buy a copy of something, or actually buy the very thing that was sitting in front of you in the world, you could click on it and do that. And as you said, CMT, copy, modify, transfer, refers to a set of checkboxes that people could set, which would, basically set the capabilities, the properties of the object, the digital object they were making. So if you had a chair in the world, you could set it so that it could be purchased and then, say, modified by someone else or not. You could set it so that additional copies could be made of it. So somebody might buy a plant for their yard and then make multiple copies of it and put it around the yard. So we did most of the things, and probably even some things that NFTs don't yet have. We did all that inside Second Life, and it was definitely one of the key things that enabled Second Life to be. It continues to enable Second Life to be so broadly useful for people. There's 1 million or so people in there today, and they're somewhere between $500 million and $1 billion in yearly transactions between them, which, even with the current enthusiasm we have around NFTs and crypto, is still just gigantic numbers.
Yes, exactly. And I guess I'll keep it to 2 or 3 more questions, and then we'll turn it over to the audience. But kind of segueing over to music, again, during the pandemic, we'll still hearing all about the Travis Scott concert. I attended it with my son, virtually, of course, in our game room. And it was a phenomenal experience, and the numbers show, as well as products, physical products that aligned with that virtual concert. Things like Hasbro Nerf had a specific physical blaster, limited edition, that launched there. There were Jazzwares had the action figures, Travis Scott action figures that launched with it. And so timing was impeccable for all of that. And you and I talked previously about the phenomenal numbers they have there. But what was interesting is, Second Life, I believe, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but the first concert was with Suzanne Vega. And was that, I believe, 2005 or 2006? Ish.
It's probably around there. Although I should say that the experience of music and the experience of performance in Second Life has been a thing from the very beginning. So right now in Second Life, there are probably, I'm going to guess, there are probably 30 or 40 interesting live music, people playing to a live audience going on right now. There's probably 50,000 people at this moment logged into Second Life, and there's tons of them listening to people perform. So you're right. Suzanne Vega was one of the well-known people who was first to perform in Second Life. But the idea of performance and of kind of your capability as an artist being the thing you're offering to those around you in the world was right there from the very beginning. People figured out how to stream live audio into Second Life even before there was voice capability, such as what we're using here. But it's you're right. Live performance is a big part of what people want to do together in these virtual spaces.
Well, and I would say, like, even one thing that stood out is as you were saying there, is that now when you think about Fortnite, Roblox, the different sort of platforms people are playing and visiting and seeing concerts in, it is with the sort of the big, record company backed artist, which is great. But what I really loved what you said there about Second Life, it's like you had everybody you know, from Chameleonaire, U2, Suzanne Vega, like these really big names, Duran Duran, I saw about that. These really big names, but you also had these wonderful acoustic artists who would just like be in their home and they would record in Second Life and in the little clubs or cafes, and there was that very intimate feel. So really giving everybody the stage.
We also, and this extends across many different creative arts and things like architecture. We had many people who got their start in what they were doing in Second Life. You know, there are people who got recording contracts as performing musicians because of the performances they did in Second Life. And again, that's an early look at what we're likely to see as these spaces become more heavily populated, you know. And I think that, you know, as much has been discussed about lately, you were touching on Travis Scott, the challenges that still lie ahead of us are substantial. We have to make these virtual spaces both populous enough to be useful and also the technology good enough to, you know, make people comfortable using them. And that's a challenge as well that we've got to keep in mind as we grow these things. But yeah, many people got their start in a variety of different subjects in Second Life, and that's something to really be excited about for the future.
And kind of jumping into high fidelity for a moment. So spatial sound. So for years you've empowered people sort of creatively through Second Life, and now it seems like taking a step back and really empowering all of these people, platforms through spatial sound. So share with us a little bit about the work you guys are doing over there.
Yeah, well, and this experience is a good example. You know, when you're listening to when those in the audience, those in the chairs, hi, everybody that I know, good to see you. But when you're listening to us right now on stage, our voices either are or are not spatial. And what that means is that if, you know, two people talk at the same time and they're in different directions from you, you know, you hear them over there and over there, you know, you can close your eyes and point. That's what spatial audio means. The important thing for gatherings like this is that spatial audio is what allows us to stand comfortably with a lot of people talking and still pick out the person that's speaking to us, or listen to two people kind of talking at you at the same time. That's critical technologically to make work so that people can use their ears normally in virtual spaces. And that's what we do at High Fidelity. We have an API and a bunch of different software that enables people who are building spaces like this one to embed our spatial audio capability. And so it's this very high quality and then also very low delay. We are all feeling that a little bit when we came in here, that the delay between, you know, my speaking and your responding, if it's too high, we have to be very, very polite like we are right now and kind of do that pass the mic, I won't talk, I think he's almost done kind of thing. And as you get the latency, the delay from a person's mouth to the other person's ears low enough, you get things to feel very natural and smooth, like they do on a really good day on Zoom, or you know, certainly the way we experience each other in the real world.
Well, and it was interesting because the other day when we spoke, my first experience on Clubhouse was it reminded me of the slumber parties and kind of party line we used to do when I was a kid. So we had I don't know if any of you guys know the Swatch phone. It had 2 receivers on it. So if you had a sleepover, you could have 2 people on the phone and patch in your friends on 3-way calling and giggle and watch movies together and all of that. But the sound, Philip, when you pointed out the other day, it was very fast. So like that, back when we had landlines, you were just like on the go. And to your point a moment ago, now it's like we have to wait for that pause, like, you know, are you done? You know, is it my turn? And that sort of thing. But what's really cool is what you guys are doing at High Fidelity. You're sort of like accelerating that. So there aren't the pauses. There are those intimate moments. You feel like you're in the crowd. You feel like you're having the slumber party, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's we're doing great work at High Fidelity. We kind of got way ahead of the market as my companies. We always try to work on things early, maybe too early sometimes, but we've definitely built something there that is a very important component of, again, whether you're talking about AR or VR, a very important component of how we get to the thing we're all trying to imagine here, with these virtual worlds and scale, getting a lot of people together in one place is absolutely critical. In fact, we're using this platform. We're using this virtual world platform today, Verbella, through Laval Virtual, because it can support a good number of people together in one place at the same time, but it's still not enough to replicate the sort of real life, say, conferences that we might want to have. And so, pushing on how many people can be in one space at the same time is one of the critical pieces. You were mentioning Travis Scott, but as we were talking about the Travis Scott concert in Fortnite, it was is aspirationally wonderful, and it was quite an exceptional experience, especially as a first time thing for so many people. But it was 100,000 little rooms in which there were less than 100 people in each room. And so there's still a lot of work that we need to do as technologists to make this all happen. And as I think Dan said in his presentation, we've also got to do that hand in hand with an eye not toward making money, but with an eye toward creating, spaces that are for the good of all, and will not cause harm.
Completely agree. And how can how can people experiment or get involved with High Fidelity if they're creating these spaces and places?
As a developer, our website is really pretty great. There's tons of resources on there, and you can jump right in. We have APIs, SDKs. We have an ability to use our audio servers, and then an ability to embed our technology completely in other technologies. Great example of that was Clubhouse. For those who have kind of followed the rise of Clubhouse and this idea of social audio in groups and live audio, we are the 3D audio technology that powers the latest versions of. So yeah, lots on the website to get started, and if you're a developer, you should be able to jump right in and work quickly.
Oh, thank you so much, Philip. So I guess now it would be great to just open the floor here and see what questions our audience have. Here. Okay, and I believe you can just either, there's a question over there. Marco, can you?
Is that Marco?
Yeah, hey Marco.
Hi Philip. I love your presentation. I've always been a big fan of Second Life and the work you've been doing. And I was watching the other day, you were speaking, I think it was 2006, that you were talking about the metaverse. And I was watching that, and it really felt like it was happening today, and that, we're pushing still the same agenda and thinking that the metaverse is the future. And some people might think, well, but in 2006 and before, we're already saying that. Do you think that now it's really the time? And why do you think that now it may be different than before?
Boy, that's a great question. I don't know whether now is the time. I've been working on this stuff for my whole career, and as you said, Second Life became a big thing that everybody knew about in about 2006. So my goodness, a long time ago. I would say, though, that I think the reason that we're talking, the big reason that we're all trying to build these spaces together is because of the promise that they offer us, and we all, or those of us that have really deeply invested our time and energy in virtual worlds, know exactly what I mean. It's a big deal. The promise of bringing people together in virtual spaces in a way that mirrors the experience we have as living people in the real world is a huge opportunity. But are we there yet? I don't know. There's a tremendous amount of focus on the metaverse and on VR right now, but the reasons for that are a, a devastating problem for the whole human race across the planet that threatens to maybe force us to do things like work or go to conferences or go to school in virtual worlds, in a way where we don't have a choice, because if we take the alternative of doing it in the real world, we might die. That's quite a thought. So I think COVID is making us talk about VR in an enthusiastic, or virtual worlds in a very enthusiastic new way that is totally unrelated to development in the technology. I think the other thing, of course, is Facebook / Meta's enthusiasm about virtual worlds as a big company. But there again, I think that is not necessarily indicative of any specific, functional change in capabilities. I do think that Niantic's Lightship platform, as announced just this week, is quite amazing. Is a good example of bringing together, kind of into close formation, a bunch of the components that specifically for the AR, space and the world. And that's a good question. I don't know whether we're there yet. The challenges are still the challenges we had before, which are, we need to get a lot of people in one space together. That's a tough technology problem. Second, those people need to be comfortable communicating as avatars and walking up to each other, whatever that means, and communicating. And, making people feel comfortable while they're communicating is a very, very challenging problem. And as we all know, those of us here that are involved in virtual worlds, most are not yet ready to become avatars. And if they're forced to do so at the point of COVID, that's just unfortunate, but it's not really progress.
Wow, thank you so much.
Thanks. And it looks like Adam. Is that Adam or?
That's Mal, I think. Hi.
Thanks. Thanks for joining us. We'd love to hear your questions.
Hello, was that me? Hi, Philip.
Hi, Mal.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Sure
we
can.
can hear you.
Oh, right. Okay, very good. Just checking. I had audio problems earlier. This isn't so much a question as a little anecdote, Philip. Over, well, what was it, the end of last week, I know you were at OR, for example, although I had a virtual ticket, so I couldn't get to the venue where you were chatting. But I was actually witnessing a lot of conversations on the main stage and things. And I was talking behind the scenes, as it were, with our friend Dr. Fran, who you obviously know. And she was pointing out to me, and I immediately agreed, that on the stage there, they were all having conversations that we'd already had 15 years ago in Second Life. How do I do this? What will the future be? And everything else. And although I suppose with some of the flashbang stuff at the moment, it may still look a bit primitive. I mean, we were having meetings and conversations in Second Life a long while ago, and we were talking about, avatar empowerment and, playing a different sex and, I don't know, meditation, political meetings, all sorts of things. And I see those things being brought online now as separate entities, as if, a cohesive whole doesn't exist. Yet 15 years ago, early as it was, we were doing all that stuff then. So it's more of an anecdote. So like your thoughts on it, maybe, I don't know.
Thank you, Mel. I mean, I agree. As I said before, I think that we all keep trying to build these virtual worlds because, and of course, this is definitely what drove me 100%. Possibility of getting people together in a virtual space for real, so to speak, in a way that is completely meets our needs as people, is just such a powerful idea. And you're right, Mal. I mean, we were all having this same conversation, literally with audio turned on and everything, in Second Life, more than a decade ago. But everybody is continuing to try, and there's very important work to be done to try to, get the wrinkles ironed out, and tons of different perspectives on them, and whole new ideas like trying to use the mobile phone and its ability to see the world around it as a means of facilitating new kinds of interactions and like I said, I think Mal, that's the one idea of kind of how the smartphone fits in is, of course, the conversation that we weren't having in Second Life, because amazingly enough, we were doing this all before the iPhone happened, which is, really dates us, but it's a funny observation as well. Yeah, thank you.
For a long time, we didn't even have voice there. It was. I remember walking around in Second Life with a telephone on my shoulder, and it was actually a connection where if somebody clicked on it, they could call me on Skype from Second Life. This is before we had voice in Second Life.
I think I do remember that.
Yeah, before the smartphones and everything. But yeah, there's just when all the new haptics and tech comes online, that's great. But when it comes to the rule book of how these societies form, how we work together, and everything else, you did it first, or rather, your world did it first.
Thank you.
Well, it looks like we have time for one or two more questions. I know it's getting quite late over there in Amsterdam, so fire away. There are any? Oh, I think there's any other last questions? Anyone? And Mel, thanks so much for your question or observation. It's very good. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Cool. And well, I guess with that, Philip, is there anything you'd like to share with the audience before we close out for the day or early evening?
I think we've touched on a lot of stuff. It's interesting to note that we've even used this platform a number of times together. There's a real sense of community and a willingness for all of us that are passionate about this space and technology to actually kind of move around from space to space and world to world and kind of re-find each other there. I would note as a final point that this idea of how our identity works and how I can know Mal as really Mal, and Chaos over there is really Chaos, Chaos. The technology to do that, right, to establish our identity in a way that makes us able to safely interact with each other in these spaces is yet another example that we did on of great challenges that still lie before us. We have to make the internet. I mean, if I could give one sort of PSA for those working on this, and this technology is broader than just even virtual worlds. This idea that we need to give people, human beings, the right kind of identity is one of the challenges that underlies everything before us. For example, in the crypto space, we're all talking about voting, but we're talking about voting presently in the context of these things called DAOs, distributed autonomous organizations, but we don't yet have a concept of people. So for example, you can't make a DAO on the Ethereum blockchain that allows you to count votes on something as simple as, what should we talk about next? Because you don't have a sense of people. I personally believe that the risk to humanity of kind of not getting identity right is one of the big things that we need to be thinking. I'll leave you with that thought. It's so good to see everyone here that I know and knew.
Wonderful. Philip, thank you so much for joining us, especially so early on the West Coast there, and just having a great conversation with us. Thank everyone in the audience. VR Days, appreciate you guys having us go through this series of really exciting talks, and please reach out to all of us, the speakers here. We'd love to connect. Thank you, everyone.
care. Thank you, Val. That was great.
Likewise. Thanks, Philip.
Jump off and walk around.
Weird if everybody's muted. Hey, Philip, good to see you.
Oh, that's right. You've got your avatar on. That is so cool.
Yeah, trying my best, but they offer a lot of purple, so I couldn't be happier.
You're right. That's great.
And it works really nice.
Yeah, the audio is pretty good. It works. Not.
You must have like badass microphone. Your voice, like compared to all the other ones, sounds so voluminous.
Do I sound good?
Awesome.
Funny, I'm actually using a MacBook Pro's inboard mic with headphones on, so that there's no echo cancellation. But I'm glad to hear that. I played with it a little bit. It's remarkable how good the array microphones are on the new MacBooks. They're pretty good. I'm not using the latest one, but I'm using a pretty new MacBook. But that's actually how I'm getting this. I'm also positioning my mouth, just right so that it sounds really good on these.
That's like a great Apple advertising clip.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Chaos.
Hey, Mark, good to see you.
Actually, it's rather odd. I mean, people like Robert Scoble on Twitter and things seem to be going on and on about the Apple, spatial voice and things. So the spatial voice seems to become a whole big thing in itself that people are advertising here, there, and everywhere. And sort of
curious though.
Is it overkill that you have, say, like something like your system that actually spreads the sound around, in one way, and then puts some kind of Dolby atmosphere surround sound on top of that? And you don't really need all the different ones. You can just get, one good spatial system.
Yeah, the Atmos thing is very different. I don't quite get where. I'm not sure I fully understand where Apple's going with all that. The Atmos work that's been used is a technique, that's used to pre-record essentially spatialized sound designed initially for a multi-speaker array, which is Dolby's tech, which is great. It's great tech, but low latency voice processing and spatial voice processing is a different problem. So it's sort of weird. Like Apple hasn't actually demonstrated anything yet. The FaceTime is supposed to have spatial voice in it, but to my knowledge, none of us have gotten it to work yet. The latest version of FaceTime on the latest Apple equipment supposed to be offering some degree of multi-party spatial voice processing, kind of similar to what we did with Clubhouse, but we haven't actually gotten it. I haven't heard it work yet. Nor have I seen any reviews on it. So nor has Scoble, tried it out. So I don't know. We're still.
Yeah, it's all that made up.
I skipped FaceTime long ago because they didn't offer a bi-directional sound. Maybe I should give it another try.
Yeah, they've changed it a bit now. You can even invite people into a call now that don't even have FaceTime. You give them a web link. But
if anybody's going to play with it and figure it out, Christina, do it. It's you. I mean, it's just it's a pain. The theory is right, like Mal said. You can use FaceTime. It'll spatialize if you have two people or more on the call, and you can invite people into a web link as well, which is kind of cool. So, but you do have to have. I think you have to have a new device. I think it's only like an iPhone 11, 12 kind of thing. So,
yeah, I guess I'm getting the 13 now because I want to have something that can drive the glasses.
I think the idea is sort of a thing like when you're on a group call. I don't just mean with one person, but more. Every new person that joins the call, it's almost as if they get positioned, placed on a soundstage. So as more people join the call, you're more aware of a wider span in front of you. Not
Right.
quite what I would call surround sound, because of course your
Yeah.
avatar doesn't. You haven't got an avatar to move on some of these things, but it's spatial certainly. You know, it's like the sound stage. You know, on a real stage, you know, you got left, right, and all points in between.
Yeah.
And I think that's what most of them try to do.
Yeah. Well, it's good to see you both. I'm going to go get some more coffee and.
You need it
One,
at this time
one,
of day.
one private question. What does
Yeah.
it take for you to get back into the
Get back
the
into
code again?
I guess what I'd have to see, Chaos, is some technological change that's actually bringing a lot more people in, you know, and we haven't seen it yet. We haven't seen it.
Starting now, and it's still like still around, like it's wonderfully and inventive. All these worlds which are popping up now, like mushrooms, are like hi-fi code is state of the art. Like whomever platform wise I visit, there's always like either the deal breaker of from 20 people upwards. I don't understand my own word.